Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast today. These podcasts are brought to you in part by our sponsors, who really truly are what make these podcasts possible every week. O'Fallon Nutrition is a company that I've worked with for over 15 years. They're independently owned and operated, located here in O'Fallon, Missouri, right off of Highway K and Mexico Road. I call this place the Whole Foods of St. Charles County, but even if you are not located on this side of the river, it is still worth the drive. I can remember working all the way down at Powerhouse and still sending people out to O'Fallon Nutrition for their supplements. They are more than a supplement company. You can get grass-fed beef, salad dressing, seasoning for your cooking, hair care products, makeup, deodorant, toothpaste, essential oils, and all the vitamins and minerals that you can think of. If you're looking for clean, whole food nutrition, as well as home care, house care, skincare products, O'Fallon Nutrition is your place. You can take a look at them at o'fallonnutrition.com, or if you'd like to have something shipped, if you're listening to me from outside of St. Louis, you can certainly have items shipped. I know they do free shipping if it's an order over $50, and the phone number is 636-240-5283. Again, it's o'fallonnutrition.com. As well as if preparing your food on a weekly basis is your primary excuse for why you're not able to stay on a good, clean eating program, which is something that I hear very regularly from my clients, I would ask you to please take the time to check out Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com. They are a phenomenal place. We get our food from there during the week. They deliver to our Integrity location. They will deliver to your house. They also are just available for pickup. You can go to their Chesterfield location or their Kirkwood location and just pick up meals for the day, as well as just having them delivered right to your door. So if preparing your food is your main excuse for why you cannot stay on a healthy eating program, then I would suggest just stop by Pure Plates. Just try it. If you're trying to lower your blood pressure, you're trying to lower your cholesterol, you're trying to get your blood sugar down, try to do Pure Plates meals for a week and just see how different you feel. These are organic meals. They are gluten-free. If you need them to be, they can be dairy-free. They are soy-free. You're not taking any processed sugars or meat-curing agents or preservatives. They really, truly believe in nutrient-dense meals that are just whole food nutrition. And I've had my clients, or I've made recommendations for my clients for years at Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com, or you can call them to ask questions at 636-778-3555. Again, remembering that they have a location in Chesterfield as well as in Kirkwood that you can just run by and pick up a meal today. Everyone always asks me where I get my meat from, and given that I really eat meat on a daily basis, typically beef primarily, my meat is very important to me. I have an autoimmune condition and I want grain-free, corn-free meat, and I just haven't found the confidence in stores in knowing that I'm getting 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And I have searched and searched and searched for the right farm, and I have found the farm. It's fedfromthefarm.com, fed, F-E-D, from thefarm.com. These farmers are amazing. It's a family. They're here in Missouri, and they have the desire, just like I do, to see people well and to see people healthy, and they put a lot into what they do. It's such a wonderful family to support. They do offer 100% grass-finished, grass-fed, meaning that's it. A beef, and I get my ribeyes, I get my ground beef, my ground sirloin, I get my chuck roast. I mean, they basically have everything. They even have awesome jerky, but they also have eggs, they have chickens, and they have turkey. I'm planning on getting a turkey for Thanksgiving, and if you'd like lamb, they have that as well. But if you are in need of good quality grass-fed, grass-finished beef, or quality eggs, chicken, turkey, don't just settle for what you're getting at the local store. to go out on the internet and check out Fed from the Farm. That you can arrange a pickup or you can have it delivered to your home. And I can guarantee you're going to taste the difference. For me, my health actually depends on it. So I really thank God to have found such a great farmer. Fedfromthefarm.com. I hope it blesses you.
Welcome to Faith, Fuel, and Fitness, the Integrity Way, with your hosts, John and Debbie Morris from Integrity Training Systems.
Hey everybody, this is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. So happy to be with you today. And if you've not been with us before, we always like to start the first segment out about talking about what it means to be a warrior. And a warrior is a brave or experienced soldier or fighter. I always talk about the wars being so important because you don't have to be brave and you don't have to be a soldier. You just have to be an experienced fighter. And all that means is if you've overcome something in your life that was difficult, that you have experience and you fought. So that means you get to be a warrior. And why is a warrior more important than just being a fighter? Well, it's a mentality. Warrior mentality just means that you will persevere. It doesn't mean that you're not afraid. It doesn't mean that you have not been knocked down. It doesn't mean that it's easy. It just means that you'll move forward in spite of what it is that you have to deal with. And something that I think of when I think about being a warrior is I think you have to be a warrior to be a hero. But I actually think it's easier to be a hero than people think. We all have our heroes, right? Like the people we look up to. I have Superman and Batman and the Incredible Hulk and Captain America tattooed on my body. And they're heroes. You know, I also have Leonidas from 300 tattooed on my body. And he's recognized as a hero. You know, I have a Spartan with my Thin Blue Line flag from when I was in law enforcement tattooed. These are all heroes. And something that I think about when I think of a hero is you hear the statement that says not all heroes wear capes. Well, I think in real life, obviously, no heroes wear capes. What a hero is someone who has been saved from a fire, pulled out of a situation, overcome something difficult, or is potentially still overcoming, that goes back to that same problem to help somebody else. So, you know, an alcoholic who's overcome alcoholism, talking to somebody about how they can overcome. You know, a drug addict who's overcome drugs, working with someone to overcome drugs. Now, listen, I'm not telling an alcoholic or someone that still struggles with alcohol to go to a bar to find someone to help. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that if you have come far enough that you're actually trying to be in the fight and you're trying to overcome, sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is help somebody else. And that's what I think a hero is. So I find that this happens a lot, you know, the statement of the pot calls the kettle black. Sometimes I think the pot can actually help the kettle. You know, yeah, we are both black. Yeah, we are both the same thing. Yeah, we are both potentially coming from the same situation. I mean, the Bible is very clear that we're called to be a people that gathers. And it's also very clear on the fact that we're supposed to point things out with someone that is around us, that is a brother or sister from the church. You know, everybody gets hung up on, doesn't the Bible say not to judge one another? Well, kind of. It talks about not judging non-Christians, people who haven't been saved and brought through by Jesus into the kingdom yet. But it absolutely says the opposite for what we're supposed to do for each other. It actually talks about how if you actually care about the people that are in your life, the brothers and sisters, that you do have to point things out that are wrong with them. You do have to say, and it's not like in a judgmental way. That's where people get it wrong. It's actually out of care. Like, hey, you're slipping on that, and that's going to actually put you in a worse spot. And that's where I get back to the alcoholism thing. We deal with food a lot. People that struggle with food. You know, I have had my struggles with food over the years. I am in a substantially better place than I've ever been. I actually eat Frank's Red Hot like it's going out of style. I should probably buy stock in that. And if you know about the commercial, they say that they put that on everything with an expletive in there. But that's kind of what I do now. But I eat the same thing. I eat my turkey and my rice. I eat my oatmeal and my eggs. I eat my beef and my rice. I have an apple or a pear. And then I have this greens drink that that Debbie makes me drink because it's disgusting and I don't want it. But I do. I drink this green drink. And the thing is, my wife, she's so gracious. I'm so grateful for her. she gets it all together for me the night before because she knows that from a disciplinary pattern perspective, one of the reasons I failed with food is because I would not be prepared. So my wife has come together with me and assisted me in my preparation, and it's got me locked in. But it allowed me to, quote unquote, be a hero here in the last weekend, to have a conversation with someone that's struggling with food, and ultimately they're afraid it's going to affect their life. And I was able to have a conversation about it because I've come out of that fire. But I was able to come out of that fire because I had somebody help me. You see where I'm going with this? So if you find yourself struggling with something and you're looking for a way to get over it, find somebody that can help you. But don't just find someone that can help you. If someone's talking to you about the same thing, recognize that you don't have to be perfect to help them. I talk to people all day long that are struggling with problems. You know how many times I've told somebody something and I'm like, oh boy, I needed to hear that today. Take that information. The Bible is the living word. That's what it's called. It's the water of life. So if you're in the word and you're researching and reading about how you should be living your life, you might not be able to recite the verse, but you will spew that data, that information, and there's something to be obtained from that. You know, my daughter recently did this conversation with the same person. My daughter struggled with food. She has a household that doesn't follow what we follow. It's a difficult household. As a child, she ran that household with what was talked about as far as food goes. Even recently being told that she had that food because she wanted to, and that it's her fault for picking that. And it's like, well, I'll tell you what kid doesn't want stuff they, shouldn't have. And then she has us trying to stalwartly teach her how to do this. So she's really had to overcome that. And she was talking to the same person about like, look, it's not easy. Like you're going to have things that you do want, but you have to decide like, how do you want to feel? And Sophie will tell you, she's like, there are times that I'm at a party and I look at something, I'm like, man, I want that, and it's like, who doesn't? But like, if we work together to overcome these things, that means you're a warrior because you're in the mentality. Warriors get punched, they get knocked down, they get beat up, but they get up again. That's what you need to be thinking about on a daily basis is, what can I do while I'm trying to overcome what I'm overcoming, to stay in the mindset to tackle and beat it? It doesn't mean I won't have a failure day. It doesn't mean it won't be hard. It doesn't mean I magically know how to overcome it. It means one step in front of the other, one punch at a time. How am I going to get through this no matter how bad it hurts? And that's how you actually accomplish these tough things in your life.
Like for myself, I mean, it's always been so hard. I've always been so hard on myself for 27 years of working in fitness. And my mindset is not that we really work in the fitness industry. I really believe that we work in the health optimization industry. I also believe that we work in a ministry. I think we minister to people on a regular basis, and God sends them to us, and we just work with whatever life-changing results they need to achieve. And sometimes that's weight loss, but sometimes it's just truly changing their life and optimizing their health. But I would always be so hard on myself because I had worked with so many bodybuilders. I mean, at one point I had 22 people in one show. I just worked with so many bodybuilders through the years that I always had convinced myself that the only way I was going to be successful at what I did was if I appeared that way. Like I had to look that way. But the main reason why I am as successful as I am, and the main reason why I have helped as many people as I've helped, is the Lord. I mean, his wisdom, and he is, by all means, his Holy Spirit has guided me through every single session I've ever had. I mean, honest to goodness, there are times I just feel like I'd be lost in those sessions without him. But what's really good at what I do is that I've just been through it. I'm not ashamed or afraid to say, I have an autoimmune disease. My lymphatic system doesn't work well. I do this, I do that, I do this when I have those issues. I'm not afraid to say I've had leaky gut before, and I had to do this to cure it. I had SIBO, I had CFO. I had to do this to cure it. I was overcome by mold at one point in my body, and I had to be treated for that. So I'm really aware of like what to do in these situations. I'm very familiar with hormones. I'm very familiar with what food does to the body and the impact that histamines can have on the body. But my biggest training I have certifications. I have hours of study. I mean, just thousands of hours of study, in fact. And I've learned from incredible doctors. But my greatest accomplishment is overcoming in my own life. And that is what has made me a warrior, and why I spend my life trying to coach people to have a warrior mentality, no matter what age they are, no matter how much money they make, no matter what sex they are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you are. You have to have a warrior mentality in life, because life is it's gonna get you. It's gonna knock you on your knees, and you have to be equipped and ready to fight back. For more information on how to fight back and what we do at Integrity Training Systems with our 6-month nutrition program, give us a call at 636-299-2208. Or for a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. We just got done talking about what it means to be a warrior, and Debbie was talking about her coaching, doing nutrition, and the people she helps and feeling led by God. And I think it's important to point something out about Debbie that she won't brag about herself on, but you talk about being a hero and going back into the fight. Like, Debbie is having troubles with her health right now, and I've watched her in the past over the years have to overcome some serious issues. You know, she has an autoimmune condition. She's had lymph issues. She's had all of these things. And despite what she's dealing with, she still goes to work, and she still does all she can to help other people. I mean, she can be at home basically not even sure, working with all of her doctors, all of her people, not even sure what the next step is. Am I going to be sick like this forever? How do I overcome this? Yet she goes to work with swollen eyes, swollen body, health issues, and helps other people, you know, to the extent that there's been times she's been so swollen, it looks like she's put weight on. And she's like, I'm sitting here telling people what they got to do to lose the weight to get themselves healthy. And I'm just wondering, like, are they thinking, like, you know, what are you doing? And it's like, but that doesn't matter to her. She still goes and does it. And so sometimes I think we can get caught up on ourselves, and we don't recognize that if we just continue to do what we're supposed to be doing, our call and helping other people, that's what it actually means to stay in the fight. She does that because she feels led by God, and she knows how many lives are affected, and she's not going to let her own struggles inhibit that. In fact, she takes her own struggles and what she's overcome, and she applies that to the people that she works with. And it's phenomenal and fascinating, the people that would be like, why do you know all of this? I've talked to other nutritionists. I've talked to other coaches. I've worked with doctors, and they don't know any of this. And it's not like, you know, we think God puts this curse on her, but what the devil means for harm, God does turn around and use for good if you let him. And so that's what happens is, all of these things she's gone through, she's allowed God to work through her to be able to help these other people with the situation. So whatever you're going through, just recognize, hey, listen, this might ultimately be a part of your testimony and lead to your ability to help other people. We're dealing with our son, is what we call him. He calls us his parents right now, you know, Braden, and he is paralyzed from the rib cage down. And this dude's already, he's in a rehab center in Omaha, and he's trying to figure out how to live life right now. And he's already talking about how he's going to help people, what he's going to do to help other people. That's a warrior. That's a hero. And sometimes it takes something like that to put yourself in check. Like, hey, John, what are you really so hung up on while your son's out there trying to make sure he can help people while figuring out how to not move from the ribs down?
Amen. He is a definite warrior, that's for sure. It's like incredibly impressive just to watch him. But I guess like probably for like since last October, I think it started last October. I've had the strangest set of circumstances. I'm going to speak about them in case anyone should have anything similar. But, we finally have come to some conclusions. I have a bulging disc in my neck, and so I started working with a doctor, and he's remarkable. He does ART. He's really helping me. And he asked me to stop lifting weights. And I've never stopped lifting weights. I've lifted weights since I was in the 6th grade, and I'm not kidding. And I've never stopped. I'm not one injury has ever stopped me from lifting. Well, I did it for him because he asked me to, and he told me I wouldn't get better. And so I've done it since October. Well, for the past 10 years of my life, I have done hormone replacement therapy, and I've always done a very similar amount. I've always had my levels checked. Nothing's ever been odd. In fact, it kind of changed my life when I did it. When I worked at Powerhouse, I was so depleted, and I always blamed it on overworking and getting up too early in the morning, but I really just had depleted hormones. Well, since last October of not working out, I started having some pretty weird symptoms in my body, and they were pretty extreme. I was having tachycardia. Even though my stress test was perfect, my echocardiogram was perfect, my cholesterol was okay, but my red blood cells had changed. Hematocrit had changed, but no one really said anything about it. They were high, but they seemed to think it was okay. And then I started having major dizziness and major lymphatic issues, and my calves started swelling, and I couldn't sit because when I would sit, it would fill up my eyes and make me super fuzzy, and then that would make my heart rate go super fast. I had what seemed like POTS syndrome, which made no sense, that just overnight I woke up with that. And then all of a sudden in February, I ended up with this major sort of dehydration thing, which made no sense because I drank water and electrolytes every single day. I dried out inside so much that every day I was fighting dryness. The symptoms were ridiculous. Well, I had done pellets in October, and I had done pellets at the end of February, and I guess no one was catching that my levels were quadrupling, literally quadrupling. And when I say that, I mean that. So if I was supposed to be under 100, take that times 4, and that's where I was. And that's how it was impacting my blood, my cholesterol, my red blood cells, my hematocrit, my vasodilation, all of my circulation, my lymphatic system, and my hypothalamus, which was controlling my thirst. It was controlling my heart rhythm. It was controlling mineral absorption. Everything in my body was thrown off. Well, why was my level so high? Because I stopped working out in October. When you go back to September and you look at my numbers, I was totally normal. What was the working out doing? Well, I was working out 6 days a week. I was burning through those hormones. I was using those hormones like crazy. But for the past 6 months, I haven't. The only thing I've been able to do is walk. That's all I've been released to do is go for walks. I can tell you right now, that's not using my hormones. And I am in not even a level place right now. I am lower. I'm about 140 or 115, I think now. And the other level is double what it should be. And so I'm homeopathically trying to pull those things out of my body. But it took me months after months after months after months, doctor after doctor, treatment after treatment, to try to figure out what was wrong with my body, to get to this place to realize I'm not crazy. All of these things are happening for a reason. And, I was working with AI through, this program just to every day, just to submit what was happening in all my different levels. And when I submitted all my blood work for the past year, it said, this is the sum of all of your problems. The fact that this level is this high, we finally have an answer. So I didn't even get the answer from my doctors, who I absolutely love and couldn't be more thankful for. I got the answer through, research on my own. So talk about helping people through your own journey. I basically just kind of kept myself from having a heart attack, because if I would have went in for one more pellet, which I was due to go in for a week ago, and we left a situation, which I'll explain next segment, and we'll just ultimately explain like all of the details of it. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208 for 100% grass-fed beef, fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. Debbie was kind of on a roll on that last segment, just talking a little bit about her health situation and really not giving up, like seeking answers. She has a phenomenal staff of doctors, but this just goes to show you that sometimes things slip through the cracks. And it is what it is. We're human. And so, she's got all of these people working together, and she's as smart as she is. And finally the missing ticket pops up for what she's dealing with, and a lot of people would give up. They're living their lives defeated. You might be listening right now living defeated, like, I don't know who else to talk to, I don't know what else to do. But don't give up. Life can be better. You might be one conversation away, one question away, and that's what Debbie was. Debbie was able to plug with her knowledge and the knowledge of her medical staff into AI. And AI was able to take the culmination of all of the information and intelligence of these people and say, bam, like this is it. And now Debbie started to address that, and things are getting better. So talk a little bit more about that, Deb.
So we left the house. This was about a month ago now, I guess, or maybe 3 weeks ago. And we had to go over to a friend's house in Chesterfield. And I had to actually be concerned about the drive from Lake St. Louis to Chesterfield because, well, what happened is that if I was driving, I would be blocking the, I guess, blood flow or lymphatic flow in my groin area, and I would not be okay. It would make my eyes very fuzzy. It would make me feel like I was very disconnected. Not going to say dizzy like I was spinning, but just very disconnected. So we drive over there. I used a massage gun. I used a lymph brush on my legs before we went. I did pretty good. When we got to the house, we stood outside and talked to them for 10 minutes. So I was standing, so everything was okay. We get back in the car, and within 5 minutes, I have a pulsometer on me, and we're driving down Clarkson Road, and my heart rate is 150, and it had never gone that high before. And I'm just thinking to myself, why in the world is it going this high? Like, what is going on? I had received some breakthrough because, Dr. Lytle had done some ART on my femoral nerve, and that really gave me a lot of breakthrough. We did some ART on my psoas, just worked through the whole like iliac, like that whole area, like in your groin, all of those different nerves that could be compressed. It really seemed like it helped. So I thought I had really taken a step in the right direction. And that's when it gets really frustrating, right? Those of you that are listening, when you're like, no, I actually thought I was getting better. And then I just got set back again. So we're driving down Clarkson Road. My heart rate's 150. And I'm debating, should I have John pull into a parking lot, or should I have him just make a right onto the highway and take me to St. Luke's? And I just know when I get to St. Luke's, like, I know that my oxygen levels are okay. Like, I know so much about myself. I'm wearing a band. I can see my stress level. I can see my HRV. I can see all of the ways that my body is performing. And I know that this is an instant thing. And so I had him pull in the parking lot instead of taking me to the hospital, because a lot of times I can get more sick in a hospital and all the things that go on in a hospital than I can just from trying to work my way through things. And I thought, if I'm in this parking lot and my heart rate goes down after 10 minutes of standing, then this is circumstantial. Like, I have an issue with lymph. I have an issue with something being compressed, something structural, something's going on. And so we're in that parking lot. I'm standing up. My daughter's in the back seat. And I use the massage gun on that whole area on my legs. I use the lymph brush. And yeah, what do you think, John? Was it 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
Yes, probably 10.
And my heart rate was back down into the 80s. You know, I usually like it to be more like 70, but it was back down to the 80s. My blood sugar was okay. I checked everything I could check, and everything was good. We made it back home. I laid in a very lengthened state in the chair, and I felt basically fuzzy for the rest of the night, and it was completely defeating. My family came over the next day, and we celebrated Mother's Day a couple weeks later, and I mean, I could only sit at the kitchen table long enough to wolf my food down, and then I just got up and acted like I was doing the dishes because I knew I had to stand. Otherwise, something like that was going to happen to me again. And I was defeated. And so when we came back after the whole parking lot incident, I just said, I'm not giving up. Something is going on. I wouldn't have gotten better after standing. Now, this is after months of working with this. We had to go to Chicago twice for Braden, and I'm walking around, Chicago. I'm sitting in a hospital room all day long. I had to stand and sit to be okay. This is after a lot of things that have gone on.
To the extent that we're even worried about how many steps you have to take, because It's like, are you going to be okay? I mean, it's Chicago.
Right.
Like, you walk everywhere. And it's like, are we able to do this?
Well, the stepping and the walking was actually way better than the sitting.
Right, but that's the thing. That what I'm saying is, like, if you're walking, if you're living your life right now, like, I don't know,
right.
It's like,
you don't know what's
don't
wrong.
Give
so
up.
Should I stop?
Right.
So, anyways, I basically end up setting myself up in every day. I would submit numbers, and kind of review all my numbers for the day. I would submit it from my sleep number bed. I would submit it from my band. I would submit it from my scale. I would evaluate all these numbers. I also do a blood test once a month from the company called Rhythm. And then I do a blood test. I did a blood test request every 2 months, which is really crazy why none of this got caught up, figured out. But the reality is that my team of staff, whenever something would come, of doctors, whenever something would come up, and I would say, can you run this? Can you look at this? Can you test this? Can you scan this? They would do it. My doctor gave me an MRA of my brain, an MRA of my brain, an MRI of my neck, and an MRA of my neck because I wanted to make sure every blood vessel I had was okay. So I've had so many tests done. They're so willing to help me. Well, that night I just went back to every single blood test, every single one of them. And I submitted every single one of them into this hydration chat that I had built. And like I said, it basically said, this is the sum total of all of your problems that you've dealt with in the past 6 months. And all of a sudden, it was like crystal clear. But I had looked at all those and I said, oh my gosh, I'm looking at the blood test and I'm showing John and I'm like, there's no way. And he was like, well, someone would have caught that before now, Debbie, if it's not a normal thing. And I was like, no, that's not a normal thing. That is not a normal thing. There is no way it should have been that high. And, well, yeah, but it was right after pellets. No, it was 2 months after pellets. And then it was 3 months after pellets. Nope, shouldn't have been that high. I should have never.
Those are those moments, those missed moments.
Right. Should have never got the second pellet in February, right? Should have never.
Yeah,
and my hematocrit was high and my red blood cells were high.
You were still on the patterning that you would normally be on.
Right.
But without the exercise. Like someone my size that lifts the way I lift, I go through those pellets substantially faster for my testosterone.
Well, I always did.
Than a normal guy. So that's what I'm saying is there's still that expectation. You truly have been maintained for as long as
so
you
many
can think,
years. 27 years of being in fitness and being around bodybuilders, 10 years of working for Powerhouse Gym. I've seen a lot of heart attacks happen because people are way too overdosed on their hormones, way too high on their hormones. But that's just bros doing it on their own, doing it the wrong way. But I'm just telling you, I've visited a lot of people in the hospital for that exact reason. Your blood thickens. You can have a stroke. You can have a heart attack. So meanwhile, I'm walking around having some really, really weird symptoms, 100% not being okay. The one doctor that I see on a weekly basis, who is an integrative chiropractor who does applied kinesiology, continued week after week after week to say, your hypothalamus is off. I cannot figure out why your hypothalamus is so off. Well, the reason the hypothalamus was off was because the hormones were completely out of whack. Now we know why my hydration was off, why my body was not absorbing minerals or maintaining the minerals. We know why my heart rhythm was off.
Yeah, your hydration's off, and I don't know that I've ever even seen fish drink as much as you do.
And have the electrolytes that they need to have,
that's the thing is it's not like you're just flushing it either because you are attaching the minerals and the electrolytes and the You know, so when you started talking about being dry and thirsty, I'm like,
it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So we have dealt with so many things, and I know that that's a huge story, and there's a lot to it. Well, Debbie, I don't know if I'll ever go through that. I hope you don't. But what I'm just going to tell you is there were times when I looked at my husband, and I wondered if he thought I had gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And I'm telling you, I asked him probably 3 different times. You don't think that this is as serious as it is, do you?
Well,
like you think I might be.
You kept asking me that, and it's just funny. Like I know it was because your mind was actually almost projecting that you were kind of like, I almost feel cuckoo. Like, what is going on? You know? But I knew, because you're not a complainer. Like I watched you overcome things without saying a word that I'm like, well, I probably would have gave up on that. You know, and I'm a pretty tough dude, but I'm watching you overcome this stuff. So with this situation, you know, this is the first time I think I've ever actually been genuinely worried. Like, you know, just with conversations we had to have. And I'm like, dear Lord, I need you to live at least a year longer than me. Like, you can't go yet. You know, and I say that kind of jokingly, but like, it was serious. You know, like, it was we had some scary nights. I mean, you called an ambulance at one point, and I'm like, you've never done well in a hospital.
Well, my heart went up so fast.
And so it's like,
I mean,
she's sitting in a chair and her heart rate hits 140. I mean, like, that's not, I mean, she's an athlete. That's insane. You know, like that, she's not going to hit that sprinting. You know, and so it's like...
But then all my heart tests are perfect.
Yeah.
And they're like, do you want to stay on the treadmill longer?
I'm
like, well, okay.
Well, praise the Lord that you are as healthy as you have been, because in a situation... I mean, look at me. Like, I've had a heart attack, okay? So if I ran the same scenario, I might have gone down.
Right.
Because my heart might not have been okay with that situation. So it's like, I guess my point in saying this is, to, you know, like, show people, like, I obviously didn't think you're crazy. But the second thing is, like, even if you feel crazy for what you're dealing with because you can't find an answer, like, you got to check yourself on that. And you got to understand, like, there's a lot of information out there, and it is a lot to sort through, but like, you got to look for people like Debbie. You know, my scenario with how I train people, like, yeah, I have certifications. Yeah, I have, you know, people that have taught me. I've even learned from Debbie originally. But what makes me good at what I do, on top of the amount of hours I've done it, is like, find someone that gets hurt more than me. Debbie joked this weekend because I destroyed my leg playing volleyball with our daughter, which it's fine. Like, that happens to everybody, right? She's like, I swear, like, you get hurt like daily. I'm like, no, I don't. And then Sophie's like, yeah, like twice a day. And I'm like, okay. You know, but my body has like,
honey.
It's been through a lot, you know? And so like, I'm not thankful for it when I wake up first thing in the morning, but when I can actually assist somebody, like, I love that. I love being able to help people. So there's people out there, you know, don't ever give up the search. Like Debbie's saying, she worked with a lot of phenomenal doctors, and they're amazing. And there's no fault. It's not like, why did you? It's like, this is why you have to keep searching. This is why you have to keep looking. They're all human too. That's right. That's right.
And I'm so grateful. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems, with a 6-month nutrition program with myself, my online subscription program, or a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. Just kind of spent the last bit of the show talking to you about being a warrior, just fighting through. We spent the last segment talking about health issues that Debbie has had and what she's fought through. And it is interesting, you know, you talk to people sometimes and, I know I've had times where I've talked to people and they kind of tell you like all of the things they've gone through, and you're kind of like, yeah, right. And I just know the amount of things that Debbie and I have gone through. And, you look at the medical records and you look at all the injuries and you look at all the charts, and it's like, well, I'm not going to use that to prove to everybody what I've been through. But what I do know is that when someone comes to me that deals with this, I can help them. And so the reason we try to be so transparent about what we've gone through is so that people know, like, A, you can overcome. B, if you are dealing with the exact same thing, we can help you overcome it. And C, just everybody's got something. Everybody is going through something at most times of their life. And so for me, what I have done is, really, I would say in the last year for sure, maybe the last couple, is I've really humbled up and paid attention to other people's problems beyond just trying to talk to them about how to help. And I just listen. One thing I talked to my daughter about is learning to not be a complainer. And there's a difference between talking to somebody, seeking assistance, or potentially even venting, and complaining. They are not the same thing. To vent means to release something so that you can move on. It's similar to repentance. It's turning away from a situation, being done with it. Complaining for the sake of complaining or talking behind someone's back or something like that is just to perpetuate or further that situation. Now, I'll give you a silly one. The amount of people that talk about being tired cracks me up. I used to say it every day. And this is one of the things, like I said, I sit back and listen. Every single day I'd come in. How's it going? Oh, it's good, man. I'm just tired. Didn't sleep super great last night. Have you ever noticed that nobody slept super great last night? And if someone tells you they did, you immediately hate them. You're like, oh, must be nice, Nobody does, guys. You don't need to compare. Well, I only got 3. I have a bed now that actually tells me how much sleep I got. Well, I only got 4 hours and 7 minutes of quality sleep, 6 minutes out of bed through 2 tracks, and an hour and 6 minutes of not quality sleep. Who cares? What you need to do is recognize that if everybody sits around and talks about being tired, then everybody's going to leave the conversation recognizing that they're tired. If what you're bringing to the table, especially in an atmosphere like that, is going to create negativity, why even bring it? And so I try to input things maybe even annoyingly sometimes, not now, but only when I'm spoke to about it. Otherwise I just sit and listen, where someone's like, man, I'm so tired. I'm like, yeah, you know what though? We're up, we're here, we get to do this, something simple, not over the top. I don't try to put a jolly glee, in the situation, but just try to speak positivity, because you can watch it. You can watch people get a light from that. Yeah, okay. People talking about anything negative, I'm kind of drawing a blank on some other simple ones, but just be grateful to have another day, have another day with what you have. I tell people don't get hung up on your past and loop on your past, but be thankful for having overcome it. Don't forget it, because it can help you to move forward. And think about your future. How are we going to overcome this? What are we going to do? But the Bible is pretty clear about not worrying about tomorrow. Worry about today. And so focus on today. Enjoy the day. Worry about today's problems. Tomorrow's problems will be here tomorrow, which will be that current today. So it doesn't mean you don't plan and prepare, but quit looping, quit worrying. And you have to think about this moment. And if you do that, you can kind of see the beauty in it sometimes, and I don't tell people to compare situations. The only person you should really compare what you're going through with is your previous self, because you never know where someone is. But what you can do is appreciate someone else's situation. And I talked about, our son Braden earlier and just his situation. The other day I was doing leg press. I've really been working my quads, trying to get them to look really good for Debbie. And Debbie, have you noticed my quad suits looking pretty?
Great.
I appreciate that. If you were to give a 500-word brief dissertation about how great they look, what would that look like?
Sharp.
Okay, you know what? Thank you. Now I'm going to go back to
Shapely.
being serious, but we'll talk about this again later.
Look good in the shorts.
Appreciate that. So we I was having a little bit of a rough day. Those of you that don't know, I have also broken my back. I've got some crushed vertebrae that don't do so great for me anymore. And I've been really doing good on legs. I've really been doing good on my quad days, and I do hack squat, and I don't go super heavy. And the machine allows me to protect my back. And this day I went to get in the hack squat, and I didn't even have any weight yet because I was warm up with just the machine. I was like, wow, that feels heavy on my back and kind of hurts. And I did 1 rep, and I was like, well, can't do that. That hurts. And so I'm smart enough now with all the injuries we talked about, me being able to accrue earlier, to move on. And so I have a workout plan right now that I'm using. And so I'm like, the next movement on my workout plan is Bulgarian split squats. And I was like, I'll do this without weight to warm up as well and see how I feel. So I do my first one, and my back was like, nope. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, like, come on. So I go load up the leg press, and I've got my feet up on the leg press, and I'm looking at my feet, and I'm looking at my knees. And leg press is actually very hard on your spine. Like, in fact, a lot of times when people have had back problems, I tell them not to leg press. But I know how to situate my hips. I know where to put my back. I know where to put my feet to ensure that I don't get hurt and I don't go crazy heavy on it. And I've got my feet up there, and I'm feeling kind of bad for myself. Like, my back hurts, kind of tired today. Like, I'm doing this. I can't even do my real workout plan that I've wrote up because I can't hack squat. I can't Bulgarian split squat. And I've got my feet up, and I'm just looking at them. I got my headphones on, and I'm listening to my Christian, like, heavy rock that's, like, talking about overcoming, but I'm not really listening because I'm in my feels. And I get a text message. And I open it, and it's Braden. And he says, good morning, Papa John. And he goes into this conversation, and there's a picture about something that he did that day and like how he was excited to have the day because he was going to be working with his occupational therapist on trying to be able to move his body across a board from his bed to his wheelchair, and how he was getting better at it. And he couldn't quite do it alone yet, but he did feel good about how he was shifting his hips. And I'm looking at my legs, and I'm like, shut up and do the leg press. This dude just messages me excitedly and happily about being able to do something, and he can't even use his legs. And I'm going to get hung up on what I can push through mine. Now, again, I'm not going to compare circumstances, but my brain was like, dude, shut up. Like, if he can overcome that and be happy about it, you need to learn to be happy about where you are too, and thankful and grateful for another day to be able to walk. Like, what are you taking for granted right now, people? Like, what are you walking around, literally walking around, and or sitting or thinking or doing that you can be so grateful for that it can actually outweigh the negativity that you're currently thinking about? I challenge you to think about it. I mean, really think about it. Like, all the way down to the basics, not how happy you are about your job, not where you are potentially in your marriage or your friendship or your relationship, but all the way to the basics. Can you walk? How's your heart? How's your liver and kidneys? Are your parents still alive? Do you still get to talk to them? How is your eyesight? Are you able to drive? You need to think about things that other people can't do and find gratefulness, because if you can be gracious and grateful to yourself, you might find that you can pull yourself out of some pits.
Amen. I know for me, when the past 6 months, I've just each night told myself, tomorrow's going to be a better day.
Yes.
I made it through this day, and tomorrow's going to be a better day. I'm going to live to fight another day. And I just refuse to give up thinking that tomorrow could be a better day. And honestly, probably because those hormones kept decreasing, I would just get incrementally better in the past 3 months, each day, very, very slowly, but incrementally better. And I just didn't give up hope. And there's so much hope in Jesus. Trust him. He will give you the wisdom and the discernment to know what your next step should be, who you should listen to, and how you should make changes. For more information on what we do at Integrity Training Systems with the 6-month nutrition program, my online subscription program, or a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com or give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your door from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com. Thank you all for listening, and God bless.